So if you ever follow the Webbot, I followed the Webbot for like probably over 10 years, and yeah, some good information, some some bullshit, but like he was right about Bitcoin and some other things, crypto, wrong about other things, but he covered something called the Israeli mistake. He said in the future that Webbot saw that there would be something called the Israeli mistake, and he thought that it would be. He detailed that the Israeli mistake would be something like Israel bombing a Iranian nuclear facility, right? And so, after we see like 10 years later, we see the bombing of the Iranian nuclear facilities, but nothing came out of that, right? Because they weren't even able to really technically hit what they wanted to hit. And so it looks like what the real Israeli mistake was, to me, was the destruction of Gaza. The destruction of Gaza, and then the starving and the genocide and bombing of the population, backed by the U.S. and Europe and all its allies, which all created the state of Israel, to be a white, racist, colonial outpost into Middle East and North Africa, right? And so the mistake, it looks like, wasn't the bombing of the nuclear facilities, because this is just the beginning, right? We're in a full-fledged war at this point. They just haven't announced it, and they're not going to. They're not going to come out and say, "Hey, this is World War III." They're just going to fight. It's just going to be a fight. There's going to be fighting going on until the bombing gets closer and closer to wherever you live. Nobody's going to come send you a tweet to your phone. You're not going to get a, news update on your news feed, or anything like that. It's just going to be, the bombing and the military movements and, different things, and the missile strikes will just get closer to you no matter where you are. And then you'll realize, oh shit. So prepare for that. But so with Cliff High, I think got wrong about that Webbot was that, yeah, it wasn't the Iranian bombings of the nuclear. It wasn't when the Israelis bombed the Iranian nuclear facilities that was going to cause a mistake that was going to cause the demise of Israel. Excuse me. It's the bombing of Gaza. It was what they did in Gaza, I think, is what the Webbot was saying. And they're continuing to do that. Like that's going to continue. West Bank and Gaza assault on the Palestinians is going to continue. And it's a mistake in their judgment to think that, number one, that the West can protect them forever. That was a mistake. All that was going to do was be a flashpoint to draw everyone into World War III. That's it. It was, America can't save Israel. The European Union can't save Israel. Right. If anything, they just assured the demise of Israel by backing them, giving them cover, and allowing them to wipe out the Palestinians and summarily execute people and corral people in the concentration camps and kill them in a time where we have the internet and there are digital cameras, drones and shit everywhere, even in Gaza, the West Bank, Palestine. And so these images get broadcast over the world, and no matter how much propaganda gets, spewed, people just don't believe it anymore. And so that was the Israeli mistake, not the bombing of Iran. what they've done to the Palestinians and how brutal and satanic and evil and Nazi-like they have been in starving and bombing people who don't have the ability to fight back. Because everybody can see that. No matter what you say about how wild shit Hamas did in their slave revolt, everybody can see that Hamas is no match for the European Union, the United States, and Israel. Right? And so everyone can see that the scales are unbalanced and that this is an attack on humanity itself. And that's what it is. This is not an attack on Palestinians and Arabs. It's an attack on humanity itself. It truly is. And that is the way people are processing this. That these people are attacking humanity. It looks inhumane. You know, people didn't live, a lot of people alive now only see pictures of World War II and the concentration camps, or they didn't obviously see what happened to black people in America during, you know, slavery, the Civil War, Jim Crow. You know, people, you know, they're disinterested. But now in the modern age, you have these images splashed all across your TV, across your cell phones, across your laptops. It's different. It's hitting a little bit different. Where you can see the inhumanity of these people. And that's the Israeli mistake. It was a mistake for them to think that they could control all of this. Right? And so now, you know, because they run all the newspapers and different things, so, and news agencies, I mean, and whatnot. So, but it was a mistake for them to think, well, we can control this. We can do this to these people, and we can control the narrative. Well, they lost the plot, the narrative, everything now. And that was the Israeli mistake. The Webbot, I think, was wrong about that. Or Cliff High in his analysis of the Webbot data was wrong. I think this is the Israeli mistake. What's going on in Palestine? I think they just went too far, too fast. And they went too far, too fast. They were emboldened by people like Donald Trump and Joe Biden, etc., and all of the capitulation they got in the U.S. and the support they got in the EU and the U.S. It just emboldened them. And then they're already fanatics. So they just, you know, it's like pouring, you know, chum or, you know, pouring, you know, bloody meat into a shark tank. It just created a feeding frenzy with these Israelis. They poured gas on the fire and put a battery in their back that allowed them to do some of the most heinous shit ever. And I think it was too much, and people are looking at the inaction of their governments and of, you know, the media and their governments, and they're saying, what the hell is going on here? This is appalling. Right? This is satanic. This is appalling. This is horrible. And people, the tide is starting to change in humanity against Israel. And they starting to recognize them for what they are. And recognize these people for who they are. That was the Israeli mistake. They exposed themselves with this as who they are, as is written in Revelations 2 and 9. They exposed themselves as the synagogue of Satan. And I'm quoting Revelations 3 and 9. The false Jew who is actually the synagogue of Satan. That has been now exposed. No one would disagree after watching what happened to the Palestinians, these Arabs. So that was the Israeli mistake. And from here on out, you're going to see the result of that. Because they're going to get more brutal. You know what I'm saying? They're going to get more brutal. Their tactics are going to get worse, more terroristic. I mean, Israel is the largest terror organization, state-backed, terror organization on the planet. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. Other than the dick riders and the people eating at the trough of Israel, but that's on the teat. But other than that, everybody knows, generally that this is just terrorism. That these are the, largest, these are just nothing but a state-backed terror group. The IDF is just a state-backed, and the Mossad. These are terrorist organizations backed by the United States and the EU. Right? That's why. How do you think the number 2 in Al Qaeda, right? ISIS, Al Qaeda, became the president of Syria? How do you think that happened? You think it's a coincidence? So, I mean, this is these people's modus operandi. This is how they operate. And Israel is nothing but and that's all it's always been. It's always been a white, racist, Nazi, a terrorist operation from day one, backed by the European Union, the United States, and all these other white racist groups, governments. That's all it's ever been. And it's just exposing them for who they are and what they are, because obviously it's a racist operation, right? And it's exposing all of them for who they are and what they are. So, but it's a mistake. It's the start of their ending. It's the start of their ending. So we're gonna watch them crash out and burn from here on out. Because they got no way out except World War III. After this, nobody wants to negotiate with them. You know what I'm saying? Like me, I don't negotiate with terrorists. You know what I'm saying? But nobody wants to deal with them. They're toxic. Really, it's getting to the point their own handlers don't want to deal with them. You know what I mean? Like the American government, people in the American government, they're starting to be like, shit, these people are a hot potato. The Europeans, they're becoming such a hot potato because a lot of their constituents are tired of the capitulation and the dick riding. You know what I mean? And having them influence their government. And here's a kicker. This is what was happening in Germany. Look at how extreme these people in Israel is, and that gives you a clue to what happened in Germany and what set people like, Adolf off, what set them off, what set off the Germans against their, white Jewish brethren. If you look at how they operate in Palestine, how they operate in the EU, how they operate AIPAC, they operate and stuff like that in the American government against the citizens, right? That gives you a glimpse on how they were operating, right, in Germany before World War II started. It was just obviously just the same characters, and they was operating the same way. And they pissed off these Germans. You see? Fast forward, history may not repeat, but it rhymes. So now you get what you get, right? And so, if history repeats itself, you already know where this is going. But this time, it's going to be much worse because now they have nukes. and they have, you know, armies, and this whole thing is spread out. So it's just almost a replay of World War II. You see what I'm saying? It's if you look at it and unpack it, it's a replay of World War II in a way. And the same characters is at the heart of the story. These Israelis. Right? Because a lot of them came out of World War II into that area in Palestine. So this is just a repeat of World War II, except with nuclear weapons, right? With these Israeli terrorists that came out of Germany and all these places that went into North Africa, Palestine, etc., etc. I mean, just connect the dots. But anyway, I just wanted to cover that. So yeah, the Cliff Hyde, the Israeli mistake of the web bot is what happened in Palestine, not Iran. Iran is just going to be the nail in the coffin for them. So anyway, that's all I got. I'll see y'all in the next one.